Hi team, greetings everyone. In our previous session, we saw how to use the analytics, right? So analytics is nothing but the pictorial representation of our suit execution, right? Now, once after we find out or analyze a defect, means analyze a failure, once we analyze a failure, what we will do, we will decide whether it is a defect or it's a issue in the script, right? Now I found that that is a defect in the application. So for that, what I have to do, I have to raise the defect to the developer, right? Now let me just navigate to this shopper stack project and let me go to test execution. So here there is a regression suit and there are around 4 scripts in it. Out of 4, one is getting failed, right? So what I have to do, I have to just go inside this failed status. I have to go to that particular failing script, this particular one. And here I see the failure, right? Now this failure is due to the wrong URL, right? So this is a script issue. Let us assume that this failure is due to a defect in the application. Once I find the defect in the application, what I have to do? I have to raise the defect to the developer, right? Because so that he can work on the defect and he can fix the defect. So here let us assume that this is a failure due to defect in the application, right? Now when I say I want to raise a defect, first of all, when I say I want to write a manual test case, we need a manual test case template for the project so that the same template can be followed for the entire project, right? In the same fashion, when I say I want to raise a defect, I will be creating a defect report. When I want to create a defect report, what I have to do? I have to create a defect report template, right? Now, if I go to this defects, see here, it is asking for plus defect. Why it is asking plus defect? It should ask for template, right? Because in this project, I have already selected the template, right? I will show you another project. See, as of now, I'm in Shopper Stack project, right? So let me just navigate to Amazon. So in this Amazon project, I have not selected the template, right? So whenever you create a project and initially whenever you go to this defect section, it will first ask you to select the template. And for Shopper Stack, it was not asking. Why? Because previously I have added the template. So only I am showing you with respect to different project. So whenever you are creating a project and you directly navigate to defect section, first thing it is going to ask is select a template, right? So here, as I told you, first we have to select a template in order to raise the defect report. Let me just click on this plus template, plus select template. So once I click on it, select template and configure email. So we have this pop-up occurring, right? So here, first option is defect details template and the second option is defect lifecycle template. Okay, what is defect details template and what is defect lifecycle template? So I want to know. So what I will do, so here if you can see for defect details template, we have this view template icon. I'll just click on this, which will open a new tab, and here I can see that particular template, right? So this is the template which is by default taken. But in my company, I do not use this particular template. I want to go for a different template, right? So generally when I say templates, where we will go? We will go for configuration and we go for templates. And here we are discussing about defect template. Let me just click on this defect template. So once I click on defect template, if you can see defect details template is displaying where I have 3 options. So this is the one which I saw because it is the default one, right? Let me just go for the next one. I'll just click on this name. So this is my second option. So this is also not the format which we use in the company. Let me navigate back. Let me go for the third option. And this is also not the template that we use in our company. I want to create my own template for Amazon project. Can I do it? Okay, let me just navigate back. So what I will do, I will use this plus template. I'll just click on this plus template, and here first I have to give the template name. So I'll just say Amazon defect template. So I have given the name as Amazon defect template, right? And here There are few fields which cannot be removed, like ID, summary, module, because these are important fields, right? If I scroll down, if you can see this release, build ID, attach video, attach multiple images, link defects. So these fields can be removed, means customized. So what I can do, I'll just remove this. I don't want these fields, right? I have removed it. Now I want to add a field. Say for example, I want to add a drop down, right? So I'll just click on this plus fields, and here if you can see, similar to our manual test case template, right? So I can add any field that I want in my defect report. So as I told you, I want a drop down. I'll just click on this drop down. Here I have to give the drop down name, and in this options I have to add the different options which will be present under the drop down, and I want that particular drop down to be enabled or disabled. That I have to give. Say for example, I want to give the drop down for status. I'll just give the drop down for status. The label I'm just giving the name as status, and option 1 I'll just say new, right? And option 2 I want to keep it as assigned, and option 3 I want to keep it as fixed, and option 4 I want to keep it as reopen. Option 5 I want to keep it as closed. So like this I want a drop down, right? I have added the drop down name as well as the options. I don't want this to be mandatory. So what I will do, I'll just click on add. So once I click on add, if you can see, the status is reflecting, and once I click on it, it is reflecting the options whichever I have added, right? So this is how we can customize our own defect template, right? As of now I don't want this. Let me remove this field, and I have created the format which I wanted, right? What I have to do, I'll just click on create. So this template will be created, and it will be reflecting in defect details template with the name of Amazon defect template which I have given, right? Now I want this template to be a default template. What I have to do, just click on this radio button. See, hi Steve Anderson, are you sure you want to change the defect template? Yes, I'll just click on change. So now this becomes the default template. So this is with respect to defect details template. What are the details I have to add inside that particular defect report? I can describe it in the defect details template, right? What about this defect lifecycle template? So once I click on this defect lifecycle template, again I have three options, right? So what is this defect lifecycle template is all about? Let me just click on the first option. So once I click on the first option, if you can see, I am seeing a defect lifecycle here, right? Different status that can be assigned for the defect in different stages, right? So this is my first option. Okay, let me just navigate back, and let me go for the second option. So here status is different and the navigation also is different, right? So here also there is a different set of life cycle, and let me go to the third one. So here also we have something different. So what do you mean by this defect life cycle? So when I select the first life cycle, what is going to happen? The different status I can give for that particular defect is, these are the different status I can give for that particular defect, right? When I select the second option, these are the status that can be assigned for that particular defect. So depending upon what defect lifecycle template you are going to select, you will be able to access those states, right? So now I'll just go with my standard first one, and here if you can see, there is no option to add defect lifecycle template. So here when I say defect lifecycle template, we have a standard one. We do not allow the users to add their own defect lifecycle templates. So I will go with the default one, right? Now defect details template is to add the details to the report, and defect lifecycle template is to give the status for the report, right? So now I have made this particular template which I have created as a default one, and this particular for a defect lifecycle template I have made this one as a default, right? Now let me just navigate back, and here let me just cancel, right? Let me again just click on this plus template. See, it is not reflecting, correct? So here it is saying again FireFlink standard template, FireFlink standard template. I don't want this. What I will do, let me just cancel it again. Let me refresh the page once. See, the page is refreshed now. I'll just click on this plus template. Now if you can see, Amazon defect template is reflecting. The one which I made as default one, right? So here I have selected Amazon default template, and for defect lifecycle, I am going with the same default one. And here coming this email configuration. What is this email configuration is for? So it is saying send email to everyone in the project for each state change. So here, if I click on this, I will be able to add the emails, right? Say for example, I want to send an email to a concerned person, to my manager. So what I will do, I will add the email of my manager. So I'll just say manager@gmail.com. So once I click on enter, that particular email ID will be added, right? See, the email ID is reflecting. So now, whenever the state is changing, when I mean the state change, it is nothing but the different state of that particular report. So whenever we create a report, what will be the status? It will be new, and then it will be changed to assigned, and then it will be changed to fixed, and then it will be changed to closed or reopen, right? So whenever there is a state change, this person will be getting a email notification. The status of that particular defect has been changed from new to assigned, and when it is changing from assigned to what is that, fixed, it is going to send a mail to the concerned person, because I have added the email of that particular concerned person here, right? Now this is for each and every state change. When I say send email to everyone in the project for each state change, and here we have another one radio button saying that configure email in the project for each state change. So let me just select this particular radio button. So once I select this radio button, it is giving me for which status who should get the mail. I can assign it. Say for example, for the new status, I want to send the mail to development team. Development. I'll just click on enter. So whenever defect is created and it is assigned with new status, this development team will be getting an email notification, right? For assigned, I want to send it to a respective person. For fixed, I want to send it to a respective person. For closed, I want to send it to a respective person. That can be customized here. That is what configure email is for. When I say send email, irrespective of the status, whatever status, whenever it is the change, means whenever there is a change in the status, that person will be getting an email notification. So here when I say I can configure, what is the difference? For each state change, for which state who should get the mail, I can customize that. So those are the two options we have. So what I will do, I'll just go with the first option. For each and every state change, I want to send a mail to my manager, right? So here I'll just click on save. So once I click on save, now if you can see, it is asking for plus defect. So whenever you selected a template, then you can raise a defect. So now, as of now, I am in Amazon project. Let me just navigate to shopper stack. And let me just navigate to defects. So here if you can see, plus defect is reflecting. So what is the meaning of this? Already the template is selected, right? So what I will do, I'll just go to configuration, template and defect template. So here if you can see, the predefined template is taken as a default template. And let me just check with the defect lifecycle template. Here also it is reflecting the default one, right? Now let me just go to defects. So when I say I have selected the defect template, now I can raise the defect. So if I want to raise a defect, what I can do, I can raise a defect in defect section as well as in test execution section. Let me show you both, right? First thing is I want to raise a defect in defect section, right? So I'll just click on this plus defect. So once I click on the plus defect, if you can see, create defect pop-up is reflecting. And here I have to give the summary of the particular defect. Say for example, login button is not clickable. So this is my defect, means summary. So here it is asking for module. So I found this defect in login module. I'll just click on select. And here I have to describe the steps to reproduce, right? I'll just specify it as steps to reproduce. So I have to write an entire steps like open browser, navigate to URL, and click on login button. See, these are the steps which I have to write in order to reproduce the same defect. And here I have to give the severity of that particular defect. Say for example, since it's a login issue, I'll just say blocker. And here priority, I'll just give it as high. And here the state is by default taken as new, right? And here if you can see, there is something called as assign to. So here, once I raise the defect, I want this defect to be sent to whom? I want to inform this defect to the development lead so that he can see the defect and he can check with the defect and he can assign that particular developer to fix the defect, right? So here I want to assign it to the development lead. So it is not mandatory, but still I want to assign it to the development lead so that he can see the defect and he can assign the respective developer to fix the defect, right? So when I say I want to assign this particular defect to the development lead, don't you think that development lead should be present inside my license, right? So I'll just click on this assign to. So here if you can see, I can see all the users who is present inside my license. And one of the user is development lead. So before I assign the defect to the development lead, first I have to add the development lead to my license, right? So he is reflecting here. I'll just say I will assign this to development lead. Now it is asking for release, build ID. Since they are not mandatory fields, I'm not going to fill them as of now. And if you want to attach the video or attach the images with respect to the defect, or if you want to mention any linked defect, you can mention it here, right? So here, once after filling all the required details, I'll just click on create. See, once I click on create, the defect is created with the defect ID and it is reflecting the module where it is created, means where it occurred, and it is showing me the summary and it is giving the severity, priority, to whom it has been assigned, who has created it, what is the state of it, right? Now, since I have assigned to this particular development lead, now the development lead will be getting an email notification, right? He will be getting an email notification. So once he is getting an email notification, what he will do? He has to switch to my license, correct? He has to switch to my license and he has to come to this particular project to the defect section so that he can see this particular defect. So what is the defect has been raised? So he can analyze the defect. Once he is analyzing the defects, what he will do? He will assign that particular defect for the respective developer, right? Now, once he has assigned, right? Once he has assigned, so what should be the status of that particular defect? It should be assigned, right? So development lead, what he will do? First thing is he will log in into his own license. Then he will switch to this particular license, meaning that Steve Anderson license. Means if I wants to switch, first of all, Steve Anderson should be adding development lead as a user to his license, right? So let me show that. I'll just go to all project level. So under users, we can see development lead is an admin in Steve Anderson's license, right? Now, development lead, what he will do? He will switch to this license. He will go to ShopperStack project. He will go to the defect section. He will see the defect. He will analyze the defect, right? Once after analyzing the defect, he wants to assign this particular defect to the respective developer, right? So what he will do? He will just click on the edit state, edit. So once he is clicking on edit, if you can see, he will be having this assigned to, right? And here he is having state. So what he will do? First thing is he will change the state from new to assigned. And now here he will change the assigned to. So he will just say the developer. Say for example, you see there is one person called as developer. So he will assign the defect to the respective developer and he will change the status to assigned and he will update the same. So once he is updating, what will be the status of that particular defect? Assigned, right? Now the status of the defect is assigned. So here this particular defect is assigned to which one, which person? Developer. Now this developer will be getting an email notification saying that this particular defect has been raised and you have to fix it, right? So this developer, he has to know about the defect, right? What he has to do? He has to again switch to my license, means Steve Anderson license, and then he has to come to defect section, and then he have to see the defect and he has to fix the defect, right? So when I say this developer wants to switch to my license, obviously he should be present in my license, right? So if I go to all projects, if I go to users, see, this developer is present in my license. So now once he is fixing the defect, he wants to change the status, right? So what he will do, he will come to my license, he will go to shopper stack project, he will go to defect section, and he will see the particular defect, and once he has fixed the defect, he wants to change the status, right? So what he will do, he will just click on edit. So now the developer, he will just give the status as, means state as, this is fixed. Or if he feels this is a duplicate defect, he will give the duplicate status. Or if he feel that it's not a defect, then he will just say it's not a defect. So now let us assume that he has fixed the defect, right? So what is the status that developer will give? Fixed, right? And what he will do, he will just click on this assign to, and he will assign it to Steve Anderson. He will just click on Steve Anderson. So now Steve Anderson, what he will do, means what he will be getting, he will be getting an email notification once the developer is updating. So now it has been updated, right? Now Steve Anderson will be getting an email notification saying that, okay, this defect has been fixed, right? So once Steve Anderson is seeing that particular status, what he will do, he will come to defect section, he will see the defect, he will do the retesting of the defect, right? Once he is doing the retesting of the defect, if he feels, means if he finds the defect is fixed, what he will do, he will just click on the edit status, and he will just go to the state, and he will just mention it as closed. If the status, means if the defect is fixed. Okay, again when he is doing retesting, if the defect is not fixed, what is going to do? He is going to just give reopen, and again what he will do, since he know the developer now who is responsible for this defect, he will directly assign it to the developer, and he will just update the same. So again this status will be reopened, and an email notification will be sent to whom? The developer, saying that this particular defect has been reopened, right? Now again developer will come to this particular defect section, and again he will fix the defect, and once again if he is fixing the defect, what he will do, he will just click on edit status, he will just go to that particular status. See, again it is showing assigned. So again what he will do, he will change the status as assigned, right? And he will just update the same, right? Once he is updating, once this assigned status is updated, now once after he fixed the defect, he wants to change the status, right? So what he will do, he will again just click on edit, and he will just go to assign status, and here what he will say, again it is fixed, and he will update the same. So once he is updating the same, what is going to happen? Now Steve Anderson will be getting an email notification saying that this particular status of the defect has been changed, right? So what he will do, he will just click on edit, means Steve Anderson, he will just click on edit, and if the defect is fixed, so he will be obviously retesting the defect, right? If the defect is fixed, what he will do, he will just give the status as closed. If the defect is not fixed, the same cycle repeats again, right? If the defect is fixed, he will be giving the closed status, and he will just click on update. So once he is clicking on update, this particular defect will be closed, right? So this is how we do defect tracking process in FireFlink platform with respect to defect section, right? So I told you how to raise a defect using this defect section. So where we will be writing all the data, right? Now using test execution section also we can create the defect, right? Now let me show you. So here if you can see, this regression suit is there, and there are 4 scripts, out of which one is failing. Let me just click on the failed status of regression suit. And let me just go to the failed script. See, this is the failed script, TC002. I'll just click on this. So once I click on it, if you can see, these are the steps and my third step is getting failed, and let us assume this failure is due to a defect in the application, right? So what I will do, I'll just click on this bug icon. If you can see, there is a bug icon, right? So I'll just click on this bug icon now. So once I click on the bug icon, if you can see, create issue with Jira, Slack, GitLab, and we have FireFlink. So I am going to create a issue with this FireFlink. What I will do, I'll just click on this FireFlink. So once I click on FireFlink, if you can see, the same pop-up is reflecting, create defect. But what is the difference? Steps to reproduce and the environment details is automatically reflecting. Whereas previously, when I was raising the defect in the defect section, these details I was entering, right? And as of now, when I create the issue with FireFlink, in the test execution section, these details are automatically reflecting, right? So here I have to give the summary. Say for example, I'll just say logout link is not found. See, this is a defect in the application, right? I have to choose the module. Say for example, I found this defect in the registration or this login module. I'll just click on select, right? Steps to reproduce and environment details is automatically populated, so no need to worry about it. So I have to give the severity for it. I'll say this is a blocker. Priority, I'll just give it as high. So state, obviously it will be new state whenever we create a defect, right? And I want this to be assigned to whom? Development lead. So what I will do, I'll just assign it to the development lead. And here the other things are not mandatory. So what I will do, I'll just click on create. So here this issue will be raised in the defect section. So if I go to defect section, see, a new defect ID has been generated with the new defect which I have created, right? Again the same cycle goes. So now since I have assigned it to the development lead, what he will do, he will just analyze the defect and he will assign it to the respective developer. So he will just navigate to this license, navigate to Shopper Stack project, navigate to defect section, and what he will do, he'll just click on the edit status. He will just assign it to a concerned person. So first he will change the status as assigned and he will just assign it to the respective developer and he will just update the same. So now it is assigned, right? Once the defect has been assigned, the developer will be working on that particular defect and he will fix the defect, right? So once after the defect is fixed, what the developer will do, he will come to this particular defect section, click on edit, he will change the status from assigned to fixed, right? And he will assign it to the respective test engineer, Steve Anderson, right? I'll just update the same. So now Steve Anderson will be getting an email notification. What Steve Anderson will do, he will just retest the defect. Once he is retesting the defect is fixed. What he will do, he will just click on the edit status. He will just go to the state and he will change the state to closed. And now he will just click on update. So now what happens? The status of that particular defect becomes closed. So this is how we can achieve defect tracking in FireFlink platform. So in today's session, we have seen about defect tracking process using our FireFlink platform. We will discuss that next topic in the next session. Thank you.